When people ask me why I started telling these stories, I usually struggle to give them a straight answer. It wasn't because I was looking for something strange, and it definitely wasn't because I wanted to scare anyone. Like most people who end up in these places, I was there for a job, a routine, something that, at the time, felt normal. For a long time, I believed that fear was something you felt only when bullets were flying or when you knew for a fact that someone out there was actively trying to kill you. That was my understanding of danger. Everything else was just nerves exhaustion, or your mind playing tricks on you after too many long nights and not enough sleep. I didn't grow up believing in ghosts. I didn't grow up believing in demons, spirits, or anything you couldn't explain with enough time and common sense. If something didn't make sense, there was always a reason for it. You just hadn't found it yet. That way of thinking worked just fine for me for most of my life. But there are certain places in the world that challenge that mindset. Places where people have lived through extreme stress, violence, and loss for so long that it seems to soak into the environment itself. You don't notice it right away. At first, it's subtle, a feeling you brush off, a thought you don't finish, a moment where the hair on your arm stands up for no obvious reason. You tell yourself it's nothing. That's the part people don't talk about much. The strange things don't usually announce themselves. They don't come crashing through the door. They creep in quietly, disguised as fatigue or imagination. And if you're the kind of person who prides themselves on being rational, you're especially good at ignoring them. I spent a lot of time in places like that. Buildings that had seen too much. Streets where too many people had died. Rooms where the air felt heavy, even when nothing was happening. At the time, I didn't connect those moments. I didn't want to. You learn pretty quickly that dwelling on uncomfortable thoughts doesn't help you get through a shift or a deployment. It wasn't until years later, after hearing similar stories from people who had no reason to lie and nothing to gain by telling them, that I started to notice the pattern. Different locations, different units, different people, but the same kinds of experiences, the same pauses in conversation, the same uncomfortable laughs followed by silence. And that's what these stories are really about. They're not about proving that something supernatural exists. They're not about convincing anyone of anything. They're about documenting moments that don't fit neatly into reports or after-action summaries. Moments that the people who experienced them still think about long after everything else has faded. What you're about to hear didn't happen to just one person, and it didn't happen in isolation. These are accounts from people who were trained to observe, to react, and to stay grounded under pressure. People who, to this day, still struggle to explain what they saw, heard, or felt. This is where those stories begin.